Today, we're diving into two childhood memories from two very different writers. But listen, these aren't just any stories. They're about the exact moment a child's world cracks open, the moment their innocence is shattered and the very first spark of rebellion is lit.
So, at the heart of our story today are two young girls. They're separated by oceans and cultures, but they're connected by one powerful shared experience, that shocking first time they came face to face with injustice. We're going to see how that single moment planted a seed of resistance that would go on to shape their entire lives.
So, who are our protagonists? First up, we have Zitkala-Sa, a Native American writer from the late 1800s. And on the other side, we have Bama, a contemporary Tamil Dalit writer from India. Now, what's so important here is that both of these women came from marginalized communities. And their stories, they give us this incredibly raw, unfiltered look at what oppression feels like, especially when you're seeing it for the very first time, through the eyes of a child.
All right, let's start with Zitkala-Sa. Her story, wow. It's about her very first day out of boarding school, which turns out to be less about learning and more about a brutal, all-out assault on her identity. I mean, from the second she gets there, it's a fight.
I want you to just imagine for a second. You're a child, you're ripped away from everything and everyone you know, and you're just dropped into a world that makes absolutely no sense. For Zitkala-Sa, her first day was exactly that, a total sensory overload. And it wasn't just a new school, it was a chaotic new world, one that was specifically designed to wipe out everything she was.
And this assault, well, it starts with sound. A breakfast bell? To her, it wasn't just a bell. She described it as a harsh, loud metallic voice crashing into her ears, just an unwelcome invader in her otherwise quiet world.
And then there was the sound of shoes. See, she was used to soft moccasins. Suddenly all she hears is this constant, annoying clatter of stiff shoes on hard floors. There's just no peace, no silence to be found anywhere.
And she puts it so perfectly, this feeling of being trapped. All these strange sounds and unknown words, she says, create a bedlam. It's like a prison made of noise, and she feels securely tied up right in the middle of it. You can just feel her spirit already struggling to get free.
But here's where things get even more intense, and we have to understand the cultural context. The school's threat to cut her hair wasn't just some random rule. For her people, hair meant everything. Short hair was worn by mourners, and shingled, or chopped hair, was a mark of a coward. So to cut her hair was a deliberate act of shaming her, of stripping her of her honor. So how does she react to this? Well, that's the key. Her reaction is immediate. It's powerful. It is pure defiance. She doesn't hesitate for a second. Faced with this ultimate indignity, her first instinct is just to fight back. "I will struggle first," she declares.
And her struggle takes shape like this. She disappears. She finds a dark room and hides herself away under a bed. I mean, it's such a child's act of defiance, right? But it's also so much more. It's this desperate attempt to preserve the very last piece of her identity that they haven't taken from her yet.
But her resistance is just brutally crushed. They find her, drag her out kicking and scratching, and they tie her to a chair. And the way she describes it is just chilling. She says the scissors didn't cut her hair, they gnawed off her braids. That word, gnawing, it just captures the violation, the animalistic cruelty of the whole act. In that moment, her spirit just breaks. The loss of her hair is the final indignity. She no longer feels like a person, but like an animal in a herd, completely stripped of her individuality, of her humanity.
Okay, now let's travel across the world to meet Bama. Her encounter with prejudice is completely different. It isn't violent or physical, but it is just as profound. And it all begins, not with fear, but with laughter.
So, unlike Zitkala-Sa's jarring experience, Bama's world is vibrant and full of joy. Her walk home from school is this grand adventure, a journey that could take up to an hour because she gets so lost in the magic of the streets. The performing monkeys, the snake charmers, the food stalls. It's a world seen through the curious and totally delighted eyes of a child.
So it's on one of these walks that she sees something she thinks is just absolutely hilarious. An elder from her community is carrying a small food packet, holding it awkwardly by the string, making sure his hands don't touch the package itself. To little Bama, it just looks like a silly game.
She rushes home, so excited to tell her older brother about this funny sight. But her brother's reaction, well, it isn't amusement. And that brings us to the crucial question, why was he carrying it that way? You see, this funny little scene is about to reveal a very ugly truth.
Her brother explains the concept of untouchability. The elder, you see, was a member of a lower caste. He couldn't touch the food packet because it was for his upper caste landlord. The belief was that his touch would pollute the food. So what Bama saw as a joke was actually a daily ritual of humiliation, a pillar of the caste system.
And with that one explanation, her whole world shifts. The laughter dies, and it's replaced first by this terrible sadness, and then a burning anger. She is just infuriated by the injustice of it all, the idea that a person could be considered polluting.
So we have two different kids, two completely different experiences of injustice, but now let's look at how their initial reactions planted the seeds for two very different forms of rebellion.
And this illustrates the two paths perfectly. On one side, you have Zitkala-Sa's resistance, an immediate physical struggle. I will struggle first. On the other side, you have Bama's path, guided by her brother, which is one of intellectual growth. He tells her that education is the only way to throw away these indignities.
And she takes her brother's words completely to heart. This becomes her form of resistance. She pours all her energy, her breath, and her being into her studies. She works so hard, she stands first in her class, and through her achievement, she earns the respect that society was trying so hard to deny her.
So what do these two powerful accounts from two distant cultures really teach us? Well, they both converge on a simple, yet incredibly profound, universal truth.
And here's the key takeaway. Injustice, in any form, cannot escape the notice of a child. Whether it's the violent cutting of hair or the humiliating way a food packet is carried, that first encounter with unfairness sparks something. It sows a seed of rebellion that can grow into a lifelong fight for dignity.
And it all comes down to this powerful, simple realization from Bama. In all her anger and confusion, she grasps the one fundamental truth that the system is trying to deny. It's a declaration, a protest, and a question that echoes through both of these stories. Why should anyone be treated as less? After all, we too are human beings.